Om Arunachala Shiva.
Namaste, Hari Om. Welcome to yet another episode of online Colloquium brought to you by Tadvanam as part of the 2025 Shivratri celebrations, which is going to happen on 26th of February at Tadvanam, its new campus in Malambura, Varani. This has been our endeavor from the last year to ensure that the Vedic knowledge and the basic tenets which hold all of us together at Tadvanam is being brought to you through this online medium in detail. Last year we discussed in detail through 11 episodes about Yoga Vasishtha, the great book that was written by Valmiki, where the knowledge is being shared from Vasishtha to Sri Rama, through which Sri Rama becomes a Atmajnani. This year we have envisioned this to expound on all the basic tenets that hold Tadvanam Ashramam together, the pillars on which Tadvanam Ashramam is built. And there will be talks on Kenopanishad, there will be talks on Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna, the Yoga Vasishtha, as well as today I am going to discuss a few things about Tadvanam, the timeless and universal philosophy of existence and worship as prescribed by the Vedas. In India, every astic religion is considered to be valid only if it has the acceptance of Vedas. Veda is the accumulated knowledge of our Rishi Parampara, the lineage of Rishis, of sages, which talks on the self and the Brahman. As you know, Vedas are four: Rig, Yaju, Sama and Atharva. In these Vedas, there are hymns that are sung by the sages, mystics, by forgetting themselves in the bliss of self-realization. They have proclaimed to the world that this world that you see, there is something beyond this where you can find the ultimate happiness, ultimate truth, ultimate reality. And they prescribe various ways in which it can be achieved, it can be known, it can be realized. Out of this Vedas, one of the major Veda, most important Veda is Samaveda. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Vedanam Samavedosmi. Among the Vedas, I am Samaveda. That is the importance that they have given to the Vedic knowledge. In Samaveda, there is a Brahmana called, so the Vedas are divided into Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad. It's a very high level division. Within the Samaveda, there is a Brahmana called Talavakara Brahmana. Within that comes Kenopanishad, an Upanishad which starts with Kena and which examines what is the cause for these indriyas, the organs, to act. What is it that gives the power, that instructs, that makes this lively, and that goes into the self. Kenopanishad has a lot of very great verses. The one which is the eye of the eye and the ear of the ear. Likewise, it tries to explain about the self, which is the essential part of everybody, which we refer as our own self. Only thing is that because of the ajnana, because of the ignorance that we are the body, we often forget the self, and the only thing that we need to do is to dispel this ignorance, and the self is always present and it just comes out naturally. So, within Kenopanishad, there are khandas, and within the fourth khanda, we will find this profound term that is being used to explain the Brahman in the name of Tadvanam. Tadha Tadvanam Nama Tadvanamityupasitavyam. That is called Tadvana, and that should be worshipped as Tadvana. When it comes to the explanation of these Upanishads, we often refer to Sri Shankaracharya's commentary. In that commentary, Shankaracharya in detail, great detail, explains what this word means. Tadvanam, Tadvananiyam, Sambhajaniyam. That is the one which everybody has to worship. There is no option given. Brahman has to be worshipped in the name of Tadvanam, with the quality of Tadvanam, and the person who does that will be loved by every being, is what the commentary says and the Upanishad says. So, there could be naturally a question that what is the purpose of worship when we ourselves are the Brahman? That is what the Vedas say. Then what is the purpose of worship? And the second question that may arise is, how do we do? Let us try to get into those details as to what is Tadvanopasana and how do we do about that. At least for now, we understand that Tadvanam is a term given to Brahman. It is the synonym of Brahman, and that is being brought out in this Kenopanishad of Talavakara Brahmana of Samaveda among the four Vedas. Now let's think about what this means as a person who hasn't realized the Brahman, one who has an eagerness to know but hasn't completely realized that the self is nothing but the Brahman, and there is no distinction whatsoever between the Brahman, Atma and the world. For us, this gives a great indication towards the practice, a practice that we call as Tadvanopasana. In Vedas, there are many Saguna Upasanas, or the qualified worships that are being prescribed, like Pranava Upasana, Gayatri Upasana. These are all qualified Upasana techniques which will give the result of self-attainment. Likewise, there is Tadvana Upasana which is being prescribed here. Unfortunately, the details of this upasana has not been brought out in any other texts that we have referred so far. But the word tadha, this ha means it is indeed known as Tadvanam. Tadha Tadvanam Nama. The name Tadvanam is already known, which means that even before Kenopanishad was told, the word Tadvanam for Brahman was prevalent. Right now we could not find the references of that, probably because they were lost. And we are trying to rejuvenate that old technique. In Indian philosophy, the techniques that are older are considered more worth and having more power. So from that angle, Tadvanopasana is very ancient, probably even before the Kenopanishad, and hence it is very, very evident that this technique, this worship method is really something that is going to benefit the humanity. What is this qualified worship? It clearly says that the person has to worship Tadvanam in its name and quality. What is the quality of Brahman which makes it Tadvanam? A Brahman is adored by everybody, by you, by me, by every individual, every being in the world. The person who loves, the person who you love the most is yourself. You love yourself. That is very evident in any being. Why this attraction towards the self comes? Because the self is Atman. That is the nearest Brahman that you can find. That is within you. That is you. But unfortunately, we identify ourselves as this body, this mind, this intellect, whatever. And hence, you try to satisfy these organs, these things that you consider as yourself, and you never will be able to, and that's why you get into dukkha or despair. So the moment you realize your real self, then you would find that ultimate happiness, where you would have nothing more to achieve, because you are trying to satisfy this body and mind which you identify yourself as, hence you work for it and you will never be able to achieve, and then you get sorrow, misery. You're getting my point? The moment you realize yourself, which is the source of all this happiness, which is the source of all this knowledge, all this consciousness, then you would have nothing more to achieve. Nanavaptam avaptavyam, in Gita Bhagavan says. You have nothing more to achieve. Nothing, so your work drops away. Now let us consider this from another angle. The people who have realized the self, we feel attracted towards them. No doubt regarding that. In the world history, this is recorded innumerous times, that a self-realized person is the center of attraction during that time and even beyond. Take the example of Krishna or Jesus. In the recent times, Sri Ramakrishna or Ramana Maharshi, everybody were attracted towards them. Why? Because more than themselves, they find their self being clearly visible in these Mahatmas. These Mahatmas may bear a body, but then they reflect everybody's self. The body is very transparent that their Atma and the light of the Atma will penetrate through. And that identifies oneself, oh, this is me. So he feels that tremendous attraction towards these self-realized people. Krishna was not of great complexion. Krishna was the pet of everybody. How come? He was not a king. He was just a little boy. The self that radiates through him makes everybody feel attracted towards that person. That is what called vananiyam, sambhajaniyam. Everybody. When Krishna plays that flute, all the gopis drops their work, whatever they were doing. Some of them were feeding the children, some of them were serving the husband, some of them were nursing the old people, some of them were milking the cows. Everybody drops their work and runs towards Krishna. That is this unstoppable attraction towards the self. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna, Narendra, who often visits Sri Ramakrishna, Narendra used to question Bhagavan and would often argue with him. So Bhagavan asks Narendra, hey, stop. If you are not liking whatever I am saying, if you don't like my Kali, if you don't like whatever I am saying about my mother, why do you come here? Go to somewhere else. Then Narendra says, and it is recorded, Narendra says, I am not coming here for your talks. I am coming here because I feel like coming. I love to be in your presence. I just can't afford to miss you. That is the reason why, even though Brahmana Maharshi spoke just a little, people used to flock to just see him, to be in his presence, and not just human beings. In the life of Brahmana Maharshi, you would see that the squirrel, the cow, the dog, the monkeys, they all come and just be in his presence, leave. That is because of this quality of Tadvanam. Tadvananiyam, sambhajaniyam. This is the point where all the four pillars of Tadvanam Asana merges together. The Kenopanishad, Sri Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharshi and Yoga Vasishtha are not different for us. They all expound the same principle in four different angles, in four different ways, in the ways that the people like us who do not realize this on the first hearing, Prathama Sravanam, we don't realize. When the Guru says that you are Brahman, we still are under the misconception that, oh, I need to strive, I need to do something to realize I am Brahman. Okay, if you have that tendency, then there is an Upasana. If you don't have that tendency, if you listen for the first time, then you are already there. There is nothing more you need to do. The Upasana is actually something which is meant for the people who do not realize when the Guru says Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi Shvetaketu. If Shvetaketu realizes that in the first hearing, then the Upanishad ends there. No other, let me be very clear, there is nothing else that you would get through Upasana. If you think you are getting something, either somebody has given you a false information or you yourself have imagined something. Because if you get something, you are going to lose it. That's for sure. If you are getting something, if you are achieving something, you are going to lose it. If the Atman has to be attained, achieved, then the Atman will have to be lost. And that is not possible. Hence, the Atman cannot be achieved. The Atman can be realized. And how that can be done? Do you need to do a lot of things? Then again this problem comes. that you take a lot of effort to get it, and then if you do lot of effort, you can dispel that as well. That is not possible. Atman is present always. Like a mirror which is covered with the dust. Your reflection is there in the mirror. All that you need to do is to remove that dust. Then you would realize the image on the mirror. The same way, over millions of lives, we have accumulated this knowledge, this false knowledge or ignorance that we are this body, this mind, whatever that is. We are not the self. All that you need to do is to remove this ignorance, and for that, all that you need to do is to make your mind pure. A pure mind, in Yoga Vasishtha, it clearly says a pure mind is Atman. Because there is very little difference between both. When the mind is pure, the Atman is known. Hence, all that we need, all this effort that we are putting is for the clarity of mind or thoughtlessness. The mind is getting disturbed because of the thoughts. The mind itself is thought. So thoughtlessness is mindlessness, and that will result in the realization that you are the self. So all the effort that we are doing is to ensure that our mind is pure. That is the purpose of the upasanas. So when it comes to Brahmopasana, there is a little different. Because Brahmopasana, the path and the goal are the same. What is the path? The path is that you be Brahman. You, in every action that you do, you hold on to Brahman. You keep your Sakshi Bhava. You be the witness. You realize that you are not anything that is being happening around. You are the unchanging phenomenon that is holding all this together. That is Upasana. And what is the goal? To be in that state. When you do that with effort, when you realize that I am not able to make myself realize as Brahman all the time in all the activities. For example, when I get a promotion, I get overjoyous and I do not think I am Brahman. Then you are at the practice level. Okay, bring the mind back. Hold on to the thought again. Think, who am I? Every time the mind goes out, bring it back, bring it back. And that is the practice. Abhyasena cha kaundeya vairagyena cha grihyate. Bhagavad Gita says, Abhyasa and Vairagya. These two instruments, Vairagya is dispassion. Don't be attached towards anything. And Abhyasa is this practice of Brahmanistha. So the path and the goal are the same. When it is taken up as a practice with effort, it is Upasana. When you do not have to do any effort and you just be it, then it is Brahmanistha or Satyanistha. How wonderful this is. And that is the reason why this is different from all the other techniques. There are other specialities to Tadvanopasana specifically. While all the other upasanas in the Upanishads and Vedas are being prescribed by a great sage who is Brahman himself, no denial of that, but here it is being advised by Uma to the king of gods, not to mortal humans, the king of gods, Indra. The story goes like this. Once the Devas and Asuras, the gods and the demons, they are at constant fight. Once the Devas won a great battle. And then they were happy and they were proud that yes, we won it. Because of our power, our valor, we have defeated the Asuras. And the Brahman, which is the source of power for everything, was forgotten. So the Brahman appears in front of them as a column of light, a yaksham. And then Devendra and other devas see it, they couldn't realize what it is. Devendra asks Agni, Agni, you go and check what that is. Agni goes. And Agni questions, who are you? And the column asks him back, who you are. And the Agni says, I am Agni. I am even called Matarishwa. I can burn anything in the world with my powers. See the pride that he has. And the Brahman puts a blade of grass in front of him and says, okay, burn it. Agni tried in all his might, he failed. And then he returns back. Devendra asks, what happened? Agni says, oh, I couldn't find. Okay, let Vayu go. Vayu went, asked the same question, who are you? The Yaksham asked back who you are. And then Vayu says, I am Vayu. I give life to this whole world. I can move any object from one place to another with my power. Oh, is it? Move this blade of grass, and he puts a blade of grass in front of Vayu also. Vayu tried, he also failed, he returned. Now Vayu says, Indra, now you yourself go. Indra goes, and as soon as Indra approaches very near to that column, it disappears. In that space, Uma Haimavati, Sri Bhagavati, the goddess, comes, and she was asked by Indra, what is this all about? What was this column? And then, as a guru, Uma, Sri Bhagavati, the mother of the universe, gives this advice to Indra. Mother says, that was Brahman. It is with its power that you won the war, not your power. You have no power if not for the Brahman. Brahman is with you, is inside you, is you. That is the reason for all the powers. The moment you forget about it, then you are going to fail. And then, this is the place where Sri Bhagavati advises, gives the Upadesha of Tadvanam. Tadha Tadvanam Nama Tadvanam ityupasitavyam. Upasitavyam. This word means it must be, it has to be, it ought to be worshipped as Tadvanam in both name and guna, quality. And so the you understand the difference between other Upadeshas and this. Here it is the Sri Bhagavati who herself gives this advice to Indra, who is the king of gods. So imagine the gravity of this Upadesha. That is the reason it is of very, very special technique prescribed in the Vedas. Now there is another speciality. Generally, it doesn't say what is the phalashruti of the upasana or the end result of upasana. Here it clearly says what it will lead you to. One who worships Brahman as Tadvanam in its name and quality will be loved by every being and worshipped by every being. Tani sarvani bhutani abhisamvanchandi. Abhisamvanchandi. They will love to the core anybody who is worshipping Brahman as Tadvanam. The reason, as I told, is that the self is what they see in them. In their presence, the animals, birds, even the trees. In Bhagavata, when Krishna plays the flute, even the trees used to dance to the tune. Even the rocks would melt. It all shows that all the beings are constantly in search of their own self and they love themselves. Only thing is that they cannot realize and find that self. And when they find it outside, in some great Mahatman who does this upasana of Brahman and realizes it, they all get attracted towards them. In their presence, they find solace. So this Phalashruti is very, very specific to Tadvanopasana. Hence, it is of utmost importance. The rishis wanted us to practice this, and that's the reason why they prompted us with this Phalashruti. At least with this, if I tell you what it will lead you to, would you do? Hence, I am saying this is very unique. Another uniqueness. If I go on, there are a lot of things that will come out. Sri Shankaracharya, for Kenopanishad alone, he wrote 2 bhashyas. Pada bhashyam and Vakya bhashyam. No other Upanishad has 2 bhashyams written by Acharya Bhagavad. That shows the relevance of Kenopanishad. It is one of the 10 Upanishads which he chose to write commentary on. Hence, it is very evident that all these upasana techniques that are being described here are something which our Rishi Parampara took very seriously and wanted us to follow. Hence, it is very important for the people who want to delve deep into the Vedic rituals and forms of worship to understand the Tadvanopasana and practice it. Now the question is, how do we practice this? We have been told about all the techniques, why it should be done and everything. Now Upanishad clearly says how also. In majority of these upasanas, it is purely coming from the Guru. Here also that is required. But Upanishad tells us what are the tenets of this upasana. It says, Tasya tapodama karmeti pratishtha Vedas sarvangani satyam ayatanam. For this upasana, what are the things on which it is placed? Tapa, dama, karma. The organs of this is Veda, the Vedas, and the seat is Satyam or truth. Let us analyze this in detail so that we understand how to practice this. Any Indian practice, you name it, will not come out of these major activities. Here it is explicitly called out. One is tapa. What is tapas? Tapas is the penance, the constant vigil on the self. You do a penance not by going to forest or hill. Sitting here, you do that penance by looking inside and asking this question, who am I? The thoughts are coming, who is it which have the thought? the likes and dislikes are coming. Who is it who likes? Who is it who doesn't like? Is it this body? Is it this mind? Is it this intellect? Or is it that Sakshi which gives the power for all these things to work? Yonda pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjeevayatyakila shaktidhara swadhamna अन्यांश्च हस्तचरण श्रवणत्वगादीन् भूयो नमः भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. The one which is inside me, which is making all these organs to work, that is the Purusha, that is the Atma, that is the Brahman. The complete focus on Brahman is tapas. Every time your mind goes out, see, the mind is Atma going out and the Atma is the mind coming inside. It's as simple as that. Every time it goes out through either eye or ear or any other organ, you have to understand the self, the core. Keep the focus on the core and let it go. The more you practice it, it becomes easy for you. This is tapas. Without this, even if you go to forest, it is not tapas. In the Yoga Vasishta last year we discussed about the story of Shikhitwaja and Chudala. You might want to go back and check that, because the same principle is expounded there. That mere change from Rajavritti to Tapasavritti will not yield you the result. You are just changing your karma, you are changing your type of work, that's it. How clearly our rishis have told this. And many people think that spirituality means renunciation, and renunciation means going out from the family and going to a solitude. You need to practice the solitude. But even being at home, if you do that often, the solitude practice, go to the people who are self-realized often, and then you come back and engage in your activity holding on to the self, abiding by the self, then your tapas is done. There is no ambiguity in any of the scriptures when we look it from this angle. Otherwise you will find a lot of conflicts. So tapas is nothing but abiding by the self and constant remembrance of the self and constant inquiry as to who I am. Now what is Dhamma? Dhamma is upashama of all your senses. Withdrawal of all the senses. This is Dhamma. Your sensory pleasures pull you into various objects, vishayas, and you will get attached to it. The conscious withdrawal of the senses from those and bringing back inside is Dhamma. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a very great simile, like the turtle pulls its head and legs and everything inside the shell. Likewise, you need to pull your sensory organs from outside to inside. That's only when you can focus on the self. The previous tapas is actually aided by Dhamma. Dhamma is to pull back the senses and to keep it under your control. You want it, you engage it. You don't want it, you disengage it. Plug in, plug and play kind of thing. This is Dhamma. So, incidentally, I remember the story which is there again in one of the Upanishads, where Brahma gives the same message to gods, demons and humans. And the message was Da. And humans took it as Dhamma. For humans, Dhamma is the most important advice, to control your senses. Keep it under your control, not you becoming slave for the senses. And the third is karma. Karma here doesn't mean the ordinary karmas, it means the Vedic rituals. These karmas will help you to focus on Dhamma. Because these karmas are things that ought to be practiced. Be it Agnihotra, be it Gayatri, be it Sandhya. All these karmas prescribed in the Vedas need to be done whether you like it or not. That is Dhamma. Slowly you are moving towards Dhamma. All these karmas are prescribed to inbuild that Dhamma, the power to control your senses. So, Tapo, Dhamma, Karmedi, how sequentially these go? There is a logical thought behind this. Tapo, Dhamma, Karmeti, Pratishtha. And Vedaha Sarva Angani. Vedas are the organs. Vedas become the body of this Tadvanopasana. So Vedas have to be learned, have to be practiced. And Satyamayatanam. It is sitting on Satya, on truth. Now this truth is at a very high level. The absolute truth is what is being meant. But when it comes to practice, again, you have to take it as truth in your words, actions and thoughts. If you are true to yourself, we call it very often, right? I am true to myself. What does that mean? It means that there is no lack of clarity when you about your thought, about your word and about your action. All these are in sync. This is what we generally mean as true to oneself, right? You be honest to yourself. You don't deceive yourself. The things that you do, the mischiefs that you do, you yourself know that, okay, this is not true. And then you have to tell something which you know is not right. See, Atma is very powerful and it watches you and warns you every time. So being truthful is one of the greatest and basic qualification to achieve the self. So even though the truth here means the absolute truth on which the entire Brahmanistha sits, for the practitioner it is about the truth of the self. Being truthful in one's life. That will take you to the ultimate reality for sure. Satyam vada dharmam chara swadhyayanma pramada. This is what is given in Taittiriya Upanishad. Tell the truth. So, the path is very clear. You need to abide by the self, that is tapas. For that you need sensory control, which is dhamma. For achieving the power for self-control, you need karma, which is the Vedic karmas. And to know all these things, you need the knowledge of Vedas, which becomes the body. And you must always abide by the truth. If we do all these things, for sure the Vedas, the Upanishad assures you that through this path you will achieve the self. You will realize the self. Achieve is again a different topic because of the lack of terms. I am using that. You will realize the self. You will realize that you are the self. So, in the Shivaratri celebration of Tadvanam Ashramam, we try to follow this. We do Rigvedic karmas, the rituals that are prescribed by the Vedas, because that is something which you can take help from. The others are something which is internal process for which nobody knows whether you are doing it or not apart from you. But for the others, you can definitely get help. And we are trying to help the seekers on the Shivaratri day by ensuring that they are coming to this path and staying there by doing the Rigvedic homas. We are starting our Shivaratri day with Mahaganapati Homa, where the Ganapati itself is the representation of Brahman. In Ganapati Atharva Shirsham, it clearly says, Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi, Tvameva sakshad atmasi nityam, and so on. So, with that intention, we are doing the Ganapati Homa to ensure that the obstacles of the life are removed. Then we are having the Charcha, Yoga Vasishtha Charcha will be the discussion during the morning. Towards the evening, we are doing Sri Sukta Japa for the material well-being, the spiritual well-being, and abundance of all this wealth, both physical and metaphysical. We are doing a Bhagavat Seva, which is our worship to the Guru, Sri Bhagavati, who gives this knowledge to us. So from that angle, we are doing Bhagavat Seva so that we are again falling at the feet of the Guru and seeking his blessings so that we can proceed in this path. That is the purpose of that. And then we are doing Vagambhani Sukta Sameta Rigveda Vaidika Homa. Vagambhani Sukta is one of the most profound suktas in Rigveda. It is also called Devi Sukta, where a little girl, Ambhrani, of the daughter of a rishi called Vak. That's the reason why Vagambhrani. Ambhrani, who is the daughter of Vak, realizes the self and sings out, bursts out in that joy and ecstasy that I am the Lord. If I wish, I'll make a mere petty thing into Brahman and vice versa. In my stomach, there is this 7 oceans are contained. I walk with Rudras and Vasus, the gods. A mere girl is saying this at that ecstasy, and that is the real nature of a Brahmanistha, and we want to achieve that, so we are using that for doing this karma which is prescribed in the Tadvanopasana. Everything else in the Tadvanopasana is dependent on the self, on each one of you, how you practice it. But this one, we can help, we can get help, we can ensure that together we are able to cover that area of Upasana. So for that, I invite all of you to come and join us at the Tadvanam Ashram on 26th of February at Varani, Malampura, Palakkad, Kerala. There we will have a night full of bliss, joy, excitement, and we can all return back rejuvenated and making sure that we are progressing on this path of self-realization, of knowing who am I. With that prayer, with that invite to all of you to visit us, to join us, either in whatever ways you can. Physically is the best. If not, you join us, support us mentally and be blessed. With that request, I would like to stop here. My pranams to all of you for patiently listening this, and may you be blessed by the great Guru Parambara for the self-realization. With this hope and with this prayer, I am concluding here. Hari Om Tat Sat.